Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here,
And BlueDragonFive.
and welcome to ListMania, the show where we're constantly prolonging to our number one pick. And welcome to a special Father's Day episode of ListMania, BlueDragonFive.
Yeah.
So last year we did top 10 animated dads, which was really fun. But of course, as time goes on, there's also animated dads, Craig Universe, that I really wouldn't put on that list.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. But BlueDragonFive, why did you choose this this subject for this year's Father's Day? Live action TV dads.
Well, there are many options for fathers, and TV dads seem the most fruitful. And we kind of cover a lot of animated dads, so I didn't want to just kind of repeat what we did there. So I went with just.
I think eventually we can do top 10 more animated dads because there's that many.
Eventually, sure. Let's build up some capital though on the way.
Right.
We're getting there. We're starting to build up some capital now with like these great movies and shows coming out now. Inside Out, Plug,
Steven Universe.
Anyway, so pretty much, there's like this long tapestry of great TV dads and movie dads, and I just thought we go with TV because TV is like the ones that are they're ingrained in pop culture.
Oh yeah.
There are many movies
they are the
seen.
ones that many a laugh track has been played over, and many families have sat down, from generation to generation and laughed and smiled at their amusement.
And there's tons of.
Or, in the drama side of things, there's also the ones that made us cry and made us feel and made us root for them.
Yes. And, there's, with movies, there's probably a bunch you haven't seen. But even with TV that you haven't seen, the reputation's always there, of these men.
Oh, yeah, sure. So, with that in mind, do you want to get to honorable mentions? Because we both have 3 of them.
Sure, you go first.
All right, well, I'll just list off the 3 of them really quick. My 3rd honorable mention is George Takei playing Kaito Nakamura, the father of Hiro in Heroes. This guy is a really cool character. He kind of shows up here and there. He's very much a guest role. But he is very integral to the storyline because he's one of the founding heroes. And to be honest with you, it's been a while since I've watched Heroes, although I did watch one particular episode today in preparation for a particular character that's on my list. So it's been a while. I am still catching up with Heroes, but all I know is that, George Takei is awesome, and he deserves at least an honorable mention here. Going with kind of like the kind of celebrity people playing small but important roles, I have David Reyes, played by Cheech Marin in Lost. This guy is a really fun character. He's only in flashbacks, and of course Lost uses the flashback formula, and every character only gets like 1, maybe 2 flashbacks a season. So definitely not the most prominent character in Lost, but what I like about him is that Hurley is, he's kind of a tragic character because he's a character where he won the lottery, and then after that, his life just sort of went downhill, and he had a lot of bad luck, and he actually ended up in a mental institution. So what I like about Cheech Marin and what he brings to David Reyes is just kind of like, the humanity and the warmth to it all. It's like he hates to see his son in this situation, and he knows there's so much potential in Hurley, and so he really gives it all. And then my number 3 honorable mention is kind of a cheat because this guy doesn't become a dad until very late in the course of the series. But Mike Delfino from Desperate Housewives, yeah. I stuck through Desperate Housewives through about season 5. I definitely didn't stick through it the whole run of the show, but this guy is one of the things that drew me into it because he was sort of like, you look at him on surface level and he's sort of like, oh, he's the stereotypical kind of hunk single guy on the neighborhood that all the housewives are going to fight over. And yeah, that is kind of what it's like at first, a little bit on the surface, but he's got a lot of complexity to him, and he's got a lot of mystery surrounding his character, and just, you just kind of relate to it because he's, in spite of the fact that he's got some mystery to him and some dark stuff in his background, he comes onto Wisteria Lane filled with all these larger-than-life personalities, and he's just kind of like, he ends up kind of being, oddly enough, the everyman in the sort of situation. So he is kind of the character that, you know, we as an audience are kind of relating to as the crazy housewives are kind of circling him. So anyways, those are my 3 honorable mentions. Certainly not as prominent as my top 10, but just deserve to give a shout out. So BlueDragonFive, why don't you when you go on with yours?
Yeah, my 3 honorable mentions. Number 3, for the honorable mentions, I kind of put people, a few people I wasn't familiar with, or people that was really entertaining, but not like kind of ascending to the rank of greatness for the memorable fathers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is David Nolan. Now, I'm sure you have no idea who that is. Let me clarify. That is David.
I have an idea of who it is.
That is specifically David Prince Charming from Once Upon a Time. Again, he's a little fresh in mind. I don't really know all about the character. Just from one season, just what I've just come to know about him from. Actually, just one full season because I watched a little afterwards for the first.
And I only watched the first half of the season with the Frozen stuff. But yeah, he was fun.
Yeah, I gave it a shot. He's consistent, you know. Just the idea, I get it. Just a good vibe of, you know, this guy. He's a father who cares about him. He's the responsible person in the town. Again, I've made jokes. He's kind of the Jim Gordon character in the show, and I like that. And the point is, David, he always seems like the responsible. He's always there for Emma when she needed him. And he's a guy I'd like to know a little bit more about if I got into the series, which I might try one day. I don't know. If they bring back the Frozen characters, we'll be back.
Yeah, we'll see. I very much doubt it, but
we gotta go back to Frozen.
Well, it's Frozen, so you never know.
Anyway, number 2 is just more nostalgia, if anything. Roger Rockmore from Kenan and Kel. Pretty much, nice. Roger Rockmore didn't have a lot of depth. He was just pretty much comedy fodder, but he's always funny. Basically, you know, he was Kel's punching bag in a way. You know, he was just the guy. They had like the funny setup of like. Cheryl, his wife, you know, he brings him some hot soup. Says, "Be careful, Roger, it's hot." He's about to take a spoonful of Kel. Says, Mr. Rockmore, and then he spills on himself. Kel! And then Cheryl says, "I told you it was hot." You know, it's a repetition of it's just comedic.
Like Kel is kind of like the bad influence friend of Kenan in a way, in his eyes at least.
Yeah, it's just
like, why do you hang out with that kid?
It's like everyone, it's like even Kenan's parents, they don't like Cheryl. They just mind Kel. It's just they're always giving Roger trouble because he's always getting injured in some variety or caught up in Kel's mischief in some way. And it doesn't mean it, by the way. It doesn't mean like to hurt Kenan's father. That always happens. Is I'm sorry, Mr. Rockmore. He's just so apologetic. Point is, just Roger Rockmore's just such a great, consistent father. Like, you know, he's there for his kids, and he gets like all high and mighty, like, "Oh, son, I can't wait to show you this." Thing Kel shows up and ruins everything. It's real funny. Anyway, so honorable mention number 1. This one's more of kind of a classic. Again, he's on honorable mentions because he's not. It was just more so for the character, less than the fact his father's skills. Maxwell Sheffield from The Nanny.
Okay, nice.
He's there mainly because I really love the show The Nanny. I love the character Maxwell Sheffield. He's got kind of a good shtick there. It's like, you know, he's a kind of the widowed Broadway producer of big time play producer of a lot of shows. You know, the idea is always being shown up by oh God, who's the big playwright? The Andrew Lloyd Webber. That's the guy. He's always being shown up by. He's always super jealous of Andrew Lloyd Webber. The point is, like, the whole series is based upon his character and Fran Drescher's character of having a relationship they're all in denial about. It's like, will they, won't they, for 4 seasons. They get married, and then, you know, it goes on from there. And it's sweet, it's fun. Just it's fun seeing the two of them bond over the kids at times, because the idea is, why would you need a nanny? Because you're a distant father, and that's kind of why he's not on the top 10 list. He is a distant father. Okay. He's really just there because it's about the romance. Anyway, so.
Well, to be fair, distant fathers are that'd be like a compliment to a couple of my dads on my list, but they're there more for the fact that they're just awesome than anything else.
So the point is, Mr. Sheffield, he's really funny, especially when he's paired off with people, and they're like some of the fun scenes are really between him and his youngest daughter, Gracie. I love Gracie; she's probably my favorite of the Sheffield children. Mm-hmm. Anyways, just the point is, like, when the two of them would get closer over this girl, like they would like get caught up in like reviving an imaginary friend. It's always hilarious. It's real funny. Like they had an imaginary fairy friend who died, and it was like choking on something, and they tried to do the Heimlich.
All I can
Nothing there.
I'm sorry, that movie's so fresh in my mind too.
Well, it's really hilarious, and they play off each other really well. He was always just kind of he's like fun British dad, you know. He's adorable. Okay, anyway.
Okay. All right. Do you want to flip a coin to see who goes first on the countdown?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Call in the air.
Tails.
Heads.
Okay, you go first.
Okay. Number 10. This is an interesting one. Lost is a show that's filled with daddy issues, if you will, and I just illustrated one with Hurley's dad.
I lost my father. Get it?
Pretty much literally, yeah. But this dad is an interesting kind of like, in a way, he's the white rabbit of the show, and that he's guiding the characters down, or he's at least guiding the main character down the rabbit hole that is the island in a very mysterious way. But number 10 is Christian Shepherd. So this guy, there's a ton about this guy, and I can't really get into all of it because I'd be going into like, so this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. But essentially, this guy, he's a doctor, and the main character, Jack Shepherd, is also a doctor. So it's a father and son doctor team. But the dynamic is that Christian Shepherd is not only much more successful than Jack Shepherd is, and Jack Shepherd is, of course, envious of this. But Christian Shepherd also has an alcohol problem and has been known to drink on the job under surgery and whatnot, and Jack knows about it. And so a lot of the flashbacks kind of deal with the tension of that. And so essentially they had a very flawed relationship. And then the series kind of begins with, everyone's flying from Sydney to Los Angeles for various different reasons. All the main characters are on this flight. Jack is in Sydney because Christian went to Sydney for reasons we find out later, and I don't want to spoil it because it's pretty significant. It has to do with another main character. But he actually drank himself to death in Sydney. So Jack is coming back. He's got his father's coffin in tow. There's actually a really brilliant flashback where he's at the airport and he's arguing with, with the personnel about they're not letting him bring the coffin into they're not letting him check the coffin on board, into the baggage, and he's just like, but I have to be here. I have to be at my father's funeral in less than 24 hours. He really starts breaking down. And so anyways, point is, dead dad with issues unresolved. And throughout the course of the whole show, said dead dad appears on the island and, like I said, kind of guides Jack around in a very white rabbit kind of way. I'm not going to give away the results of that. I'm not going to give away why it happens, but it does get explained. And at the very end of the show, again, I won't give it away, but Christian Shepherd, who we mostly see through flashbacks because Jack is the main character. I'd say most characters get 1 to 2 flashbacks a season. Jack got like 3 episodes most seasons. So we saw a lot of Christian Shepherd. He was probably like the main character in the flashback scene. And he also showed up in other people's flashbacks for reasons I won't spoil. But at the very end of the series, Christian Shepherd is very significant. Everyone who's watched Lost knows what I mean by that. So that's all I have to say. He's a very symbolic. I mean, of course, his name's pretty on the nose. You know what I mean? Christian Shepherd. And that is what he does. He guides people. But it's a very fascinating character who kind of gets revealed through, through flashbacks and backstory. So I thought it was a good place to start. All right.
Okay, my number 10. This guy, he almost made it on the honorable mentions list, but I mean, this guy, he was, for the little time I saw him, he was fantastic. Ward Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver. So yeah, so I put Ward Cleaver in it. Now let me just clarify this. The reason this guy should probably be on honorable mentions list, I'm just being real nice to him, is last New Year's Eve, I watched for the first time, outside of just clips, just again in the public consciousness, everyone knows a little bit of Leave It to Beaver. Oh, that Beaver is always getting into trouble.
I've never watched an episode in my life, so yeah, I'll admit it's just public consciousness.
Yeah, it's the black and white family.
Sure.
That's what it was. Anyway, so for random reason, I'm not going to get into it. Point is, it was New Year's Eve. I had Netflix available to me, so I watched an episode from season 6. I forget what it's called, but it's an episode from season 6, and it's basically the older teenage son. It's an older teenage son and his younger son, who is the older teenage son and his younger brother, who is the beaver. Get it? Mm-hmm. And it's basically your standard '50s family. It's kind of I like the old the '50s stuff. Happy Days being
it is the definitive nuclear family sitcom.
Yeah. Anyway, so. Point is, the episode it's pretty simple premise. It's kind of a '50s. It's a '50s show. Got some charm. Some of the best shows, like Light Love Lucy, or there's kind of the same variety. Mm-hmm. So point is, it's Ward Cleaver's oldest son. He asks a girl to go on a date. They go on a date to a nice fancy restaurant. Now, bear in mind, Ward Cleaver is a businessman of some variety. Again, you're coming in as cleanly as I am on this, Tiki. Okay, I've just seen one episode. He's a businessman of some kind. He takes clients to restaurants and he talks them over. So I assume he would be a valuable client if, for a valuable patron to go to a restaurant. So they don't want to lose his business. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the point is, basically, the oldest son, he asks her, "Hey, you want to go on a date, or you want to go to dinner?" And she says, "Oh yeah, sure. Well, what place you want to go to?" And he says, "You name the place." Because he's trying to be smooth. She picks the the new restaurants, really nice and fancy. And he says, okay. He tries getting reservation, just uses his own name, doesn't mention his father is a big businessman of some kind or anything, or takes clients or anything. So pretty much he gets shot down. His father arranges it behind the scenes. This is why I love Ward Cleaver. From the brief that I saw him, he's so fantastic. He's a great father in this episode. He just, behind the scenes, away from the eldest son knowing this, he contacts the restaurant because, again, he would bring a lot of business to the restaurant because he interviews a lot of clients. He basically puts in a word, gets him a table at the restaurant, and then later on, the Beeves brother, he scrapes together enough cash, gets an expensive restaurant to take the girl out. He does it, and here's the problem though. He realizes at the end of the meal, and parents knew this beforehand. They find out that no, he left his wallet at the house. So and he'll embarrass himself in front of the girl. It'll be awful at the wash dishes or something back in the '50s. So here's where the episode really here's where Ward Cleaver wins the Father of the Year award. Okay, he puts in a call to the restaurant. He says, pretty much says he'll pay for it and everything. I forget exactly how it went. Points he managed to pay for the thing because again he brings a lot of clients to the place, and the son he's at the restaurant. He has a horror on his face, like, oh my god, I don't have my wallet, and he's trying not to let it on to the girl. And anyway, says the maitre d' or something comes by and he hands a piece of paper. Oh, just sign your name, Mr. Cleaver. And says, sign my name. He has no idea what's going on. Well, just sign my name, and the check's already been paid for. He says, well, no, because a man like yourself, of your status, how can we not just give you food for free? Essentially, that's what's coming across as to the girl. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just making him look really good. And at the end of the episode, the idea is Ward Cleaver is talking to his wife and says, okay, let's not tell him. Okay, because also the Beaver's in on. I was like, oh, wait, he lost his wallet. Are we going to tell him, Dad? And he says, no, I don't want to embarrass him. He felt really proud. It's going to give him a good sense of pride and stuff. I don't want to ruin that or anything. Mm-hmm. Anyways, then at the end, though, however, the oldest son, he figured it out on his own, and there's this really sweet moment between the two of them. They don't acknowledge it. So it's like he knows what his father did, and he knows that his father did this really nice gesture for him, and he'll never let on because he says to the Beeves, so why aren't you going to tell Dad? You know what he did. He says, well, you know what? He did that for me, and it gave him this sort of feeling, and I'm sure I don't want to ruin that for him. So the point is a really sweet moment. You see what I'm saying here? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Always Ward Cleaver. He seemed like a really stand-up guy. Really took care of his son. He didn't need the credit at all. He just did it. And he didn't. The lesson is imparted on himself because he has faith in him having a good kid. And in the end of the day, everything worked out. That to me is really sweet.
Okay. All right. Well, excuse me for my camera off. I'm trying to. Okay. So my number 9 pick is this is a guy that probably shouldn't be on any best father list because he's not really a father figure at all. But Vern Schillinger from Oz. Yeah, this is a role made famous by J.K. Simmons, of course. We all love the J.K. Simmons. And yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend Oz to you in particular, BlueDragonFive, because it's a pretty hard-edged show. It's definitely got a lot of surrealist comedy elements to it.
There's a lot of rape in there, isn't it?
Well, you know, it's kind of funny because I feel like I bet you're getting the whole rape thing from Family Guy.
Well, not Family Robot Chicken when they did the Oz parody.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, it's in there, yeah, and this character in particular is probably one of the main instigators of that.
Yeah. I got because he did the voice on the Robot Chicken parody as the same character. It's basically the Scarecrow is the new fish, and J.K. Simmons is the guy.
So basically, I'm imagining that what J.K. Simmons does to the Scarecrow is probably what he does to, or along the lines of what he does to the main character in Oz.
Well, you know, he has to earn like the top bunk. It's like a rental agreement, let's just say.
Yeah. Oh God. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, there's a lot of depth to the character. Him being a father is definitely a big part of his character because, oddly enough, he's a neo-Nazi, but he's a neo-Nazi because of his kids, because he feels threatened by his, because he feels, he just is like a really, really super overprotective father, and he's in prison because he beat up a couple of black guys who sold his kids drugs, and so, he's got a lot of complex. I mean, obviously, he's a bastard. He's a son of a bitch. He's an evil character. He's a chilling character. At the same time, he's got some damn humor to him because he's J.K. Simmons, And like I said, the whole show does kind of have this like super kind of black comedy edge to it. So not a ton to say about him, but he's a memorable character and a memorable character who, at his core, is a father, even if he's a very fucked up father.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying with that. He sounds interesting. Like a guy who he's trying to protect his kids, even though he's going through very kind of kind of like neo-Nazi-esque.
It's crazy.
Ways.
But he could just be a neo-Nazi because he's trying to blend into the prison system, and the prison system is kind of run by neo-Nazis, or at least that's a big gang.
Oh, wait a second. Tiki, are you very familiar with the show?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. Just, do you see, his, any flashbacks or anything to, his incarceration, the moment where he's, does he have a moment where he decides, well, the people, they know the crime, or somehow they find out the crime of, it was I attacked black people, so I can maybe use that to spark up a reputation for being a neo-Nazi.
Not necessarily. It's made kind of ambiguous. It's made ambiguous whether or not he was a neo-Nazi before prison, and that's kind of
prison changes people. That'd be an interesting.
Of course.
Is
Sure.
he the main character, or is he just a character there?
He's the main villain of the show.
Oh, villain. Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely the main villain of the show, and he's the main antagonist of the main. I don't want to call him the hero, but the main character.
Is Christopher Maloney in that show?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Is he the main guy?
No, but he has a very significant relationship to the main character.
Okay.
Yeah, leave it at that.
Just curious. Sorry.
And a relationship that's probably the relationship you're kind of expecting in prison. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, anyways, so what's your number 9?
My number 9, that was kind of because let's just say you took my number 9, so I had to replace. I had to replace it. I used kind of a modern guy. Again,
was your number 9 a Hispanic?
Well, let's just say he's
big band guy.
Yeah, he's an iconic father, to say the least. Anyways, okay. my number 9. I changed it to kind of a modern, kind of a father who was in a recent show that unfortunately got canceled. But it was a really good show. I highly recommend it. I told you about it in Excess Tiki. It's from Forever. I love Dr. Henry Morgan. He's my number 9 pick. Now, Henry Morgan. What?
Morgan. Another Morgan.
Yeah, another Morgan.
Okay.
The point is, Henry Morgan in a nutshell, he's really, really interesting. The show Forever was a really great, underrated show. I recommend it for everyone to check out. The point is, Henry Morgan, he's kind of more of a technical father, but he was a good father, though. It's a brilliant idea for Henry Morgan, how he fits into the whole fatherhood category. And he was kind of almost number 10. He was almost switching spots with Ward Cleaver. However, he has much more depth than I know about Ward Cleaver, so I had to put him there. So, point is, Henry Morgan, he was a doctor way back in the 1800s, got shot trying to protect some slaves on a boat, and, he basically is gifted with with immortality. So whenever he dies, he gets reborn in the water. So his body disappears, he awakens in the water, he swims to the shore, and there he is. And he's done that for 200 years.
Okay, so that's interesting.
He's 200 years old, and the point is, so in that time, he's had some love interests, and the point is, mainly two love interests. The first one kind of committed him, thinking he was insane for being immortal. That's a whole story. It's really interesting on the show. Second love is the love of his life that he settled down with and raised a child with, Abigail, who has a really big role in the series. Because periodically through each of the episodes, you'll have this really nice arc that's being laid out for you. Like you have flashbacks that are thematic to the episode, of like him within his 200-year lifespan, having these experiences with this woman.
Okay, nice. I like the flashback format.
Really, it was really nicely done. Anyway, so the story with how he factors into being a father. So way back, and I guess it's been a while. So it might be in the late 40s, early 50s, but because they see him raise him in the 50s, so I guess it's late 40s. He was a member of the fire brigade. Nice to have a doctor on staff when you have like a fire brigade going on, like volunteers and stuff. So there's a burning building. They find an infant, and Abigail's a nurse, and that's how they met. And basically, when they found this kid, they decided to, because they were dating, they were getting married, they decided to adopt it. So they adopt this kid named Abraham. They name it Abraham, and he's got a whole interesting story. But the point is, they raise Abraham through the 50s and onward. And from the first episode onward is what really sold me on the series. I thought it was such a touching, brilliant idea. Is that through the whole first episode, you think Abraham is like, he's growing up, he's Judd Hirsch. You know Judd Hirsch at all, Tiki?
No.
Just like actor from Taxi, big name. Point is,
okay.
Well, kind of classic 70s television, I should say. Point is, Judd Hirsch, he's like he runs an antique store that Henry works at too. He works there too. That's where he keeps his crime lab and everything. So the point is, you just think Abraham's like his old friend who runs the antique store, and like they know each other. He knows his secret and stuff. You think that. Then the end of the episode, it's revealed that baby that he rescued was Abraham. So the idea is he raised Abraham till he's like in his 60s, and now it's kind of a reverse mentor type thing of like his son is now looks older than he is, and his son kind of looks out for him. So it's kind of like an alpha dynamic in reverse.
That's trippy.
So I thought that
kind of reminds me of like a super serious version of like Fry the Professor from Futurama.
Yeah, it's kind of like it, but it's really seriously, it's really touching.
Uh-huh.
And like there were these moments where like when Abigail factors into the episode, where like they're reminiscing there, because remember Abigail was his mom, like the adopted mother of him. Like remember they took him in, they raised him. They really sweet dynamic, and he knows the secret, and like all the stuff attached to having a father was immortal.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is, it's really sweet. Henry Morgan, he was a good father to him. He was a loving father. And they had these great moments of sorrow of like Abraham acknowledging, I love you, Dad. Those type of moments of like, you raised me and I love you, and I'm making sure you don't, do anything wrong either. I'm kind of raising you now, that sort of thing. It's really sweet.
All right. Okay, so my number 8 is this is my Desperate Housewife pick, and Desperate Housewives actually had some good dads. One of the strengths of the show was actually the fact that it had as many interesting male characters as it did female characters. Kyle MacLachlan was definitely an interesting male character on that list, but I won't get into him. But this guy is kind of the prototypical dad here, and he's kind of like the stay-at-home dad of the show. And I'm talking, of course, about Tom Scavo. Yeah.
That is a cool name.
Tom Scavo. Yeah, this guy, I believe, let's see, how many kids does this guy have? I think he has 3 boys and 1 girl. And so basically his wife is very motivated and career-driven, and she's in the office a lot of the time. And so, of course, a lot of the storylines with this family has to do with Tom being the stay-at-home dad, and to him kind of struggling with his masculinity a little bit in that way, and just all kinds of hijinks and adorable antics with the kids and all that kind of stuff. him and his wife have a really good dynamic. You know, it's like they're the kind of, it's like, you know, they obviously have a tenderness towards each other, but there's this very real problem at the heart of their relationship that both of them want to be like ambitious, but they know one of them has to be there for the kids at least. And it's not that Lynette's a bad mom. It's just that, you know, like I said, she's super career driven. Like that's kind of her character. So I don't know, Tom Scavo, and of course Tom Scavo kind of has almost kind of a bumbling Bryan Cranston Hal sort of feel to him. And as I'm saying that, I just realized that I left Hal out of that list, and I'm going to actually replace my number 7 that I had with Hal as I speak. So yeah, moving on.
All right, my number 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
My number 8, big old classic TV dad here, Archie Bunker from All in the Family.
Oh, okay.
Good old Archie Bunker. Archie Bunker is just, first of all, on his own, he's a fantastic character. You know, just the lovable bigot that charmed America. Basically, the brilliance of Archie Bunker, he's the ultimate learning experience for America of saying, well, if you people feel this way, we're going to show you what those feelings will get you, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
It's just the idea, Archie Bunker can be as bigoted as he wants, but he's a dumb guy, though. It's like he just doesn't realize what he's saying, and he means well. He doesn't get it. That's the thing. He's just being bigoted based on these views. Whatever he's saying just sounds like the dumbest thing you've ever heard. And by the end of the episode, he gets his comeuppance with that, and he learns from it.
Sure, and that's the charm of his character.
Yeah, again, so Archie Bunker is classic. But also the other side of him is that, you know, he is a father. You know, he's a father-in-law too. Because the big thing with Archie Bunker is the father-in-law dynamic between him and the meat.
And that comes some of the best storylines of the show.
Yeah, of course, like him and Mike getting trapped down. All in the Family kind of popularized the box episode. That was when All in the Family really
exactly. Yeah, they were masters at it.
Like there were episodes where Archie Bunker's trapped alone and in the basement, and so there's this hilarious episode where he gets drunk in the basement because he's just locked down there, and like the repairman comes through, and then he's a black guy, and he's basically saying, "Oh Lord, if you can get me out of this, I'd appreciate it." And then he basically says, "Show yourself, Lord," and then he turns around and it's the black guy. And he just says, because remember, Archie Bunker has black neighbors and everything. He continually thinks that, you know, again, he's forgivably a bigot with that. So he's
sure.
To the point, he just hilariously turns around and he's dumbfounded by looking at this. He thinks God is black. He says, "Forgive me, Lord, for I did not know." And it just says that the Jeffersons were right. Anyway, so Archie Bunker, he has a really sweet dynamic with everyone. Like one of the really sweet ones, like him and his daughter, always just calls her little girl to Gloria. It's always a real fun. He just plays father-in-law so well with Mike. And there's really one thing real quick there. There are 2 great dramatic moments for Archie Bunker that always comes to the top of everyone's All in the Family episode list. One, of course, is when Edith passes away. That's a great one. Something you never really consider, like, you know, how his father react when he loses mom, you know, that sort of thing. It's such a beautiful example of that. It's such a moving scene. I couldn't do it justice if I tried. But let me get you to the scene I watched. That is a more father-related thing. Okay, so there's this great episode on the Family way back in the early seasons where eventually Mike and Gloria, they have kids, but before that, though, there was a miscarriage, and it's a really powerful episode. So Archie Bunker, and like he's all hyped through the episode about it being a grandfather, and you know they announce it's a boy, and he says, "Oh, I'm gonna be a grandfather, I have a grandson." He's so happy, go lucky, and you know, like the big thing of the episode was like if Mike was gonna go to work and leave her alone and stuff, and you know Archie was against it and stuff. Anyway, so by the end of the episode, he's on board for whatever the thing was, and he got the like a show of like I approve of this of everything. He brings like a giant plush panda bear with a bow on it.
Oh, God.
So he comes home, he's all happy-go-lucky, and he doesn't know. They tried to reach him at work, but again, I assume he was out getting the panda bear or something. He was out doing stuff.
There's actually an episode of Lost that involves a giant panda bear. I wonder if that's an homage.
No.
No, I don't know. You don't know, because Lost has a ton of homages in it.
I don't know. It's not that. It's a big plush. But I don't know
no, this is a big plush panda bear, literally.
Anyway, so he comes home. He's all happy-go-lucky. So Mike and Edith. They're downstairs, and they say, well, how are we going to break it to Archie? He was all hyped up about being grandfather.
Oh,
and then he comes home, and he's like telling Michael, he's basically making up for the earlier argument, saying, hey, listen, Michael, I got to tell you should stay home, as that's where it really counts. You shouldn't just go out, get work, because you're not smart enough, for one. He's just insulting him, too, which is hilarious. But so, again, they really gutsy how they balance comedy with a really dramatic build. So then at the end of it, there's like Mike interrupts him saying, Archie, she lost the baby. And he's just like, first of all, Archie doesn't get it. He's saying, well, what do you mean she lost the baby? He says, she lost the baby. And then it dawns on him, she lost the baby. Then there's oh my God, it's a sweet scene. First of all, he puts the panda bear in the seat next to him, which is like, so it's like, oh, it's like he lost, the baby's been lost, so he puts the bear in the seat because he can't give it to anyone right now. Then he goes up the stairs, and the idea like, Edith softens a little, saying, well, listen, Gloria's fine, everything, she's okay, but they lost the baby. Archie goes upstairs, really sweet scene. This is how the episode ends. It's just, she's in bed, a long day, I assume, she's in bed trying to heal up. And she's like a sweet little girl in this scene, just saying, oh, hi, Daddy. And like Archie comes in there, and he's just, he's walking into the bed, sitting in a chair next to it. It's like a classic father-daughter scene. And he's just like, he's real tactful. With Archie Bunny, he can kind of come in barreling like a bowler, like a bulldozer or something. So he sits down, and he says, but the point is, Archie doesn't have the words to say. He's just saying, no, I can just be here. I don't really need to say anything. And then she says, she knows he wants to say something, but he just can't find the words. And then she says, I know what you want to say, Daddy. You want to say, I love you, and I love you too. And like they hold hands, and that's how it ends. I got to tell you, one of the sweetest fatherly moments. As at each other's throats as this family can be, they're really tender moments. And he always means well, Archie Bunker. He's a classic TV dad. He was like the first grumpy dad you saw on TV, and it was hilarious.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 7 is was Arthur Mitchell. Hello, Dexter Morgan. But I completely forgot about Bryan Cranston. I need to give Bryan Cranston some love. So yeah, Hal from Malcolm in the Middle. There you go. There you go.
Would you like to say why?
Well, I think it kind of speaks for itself. It's just we all love the Cranston, and really the awesome thing about Breaking Bad, like, before Cranston became known as Walter White, he was, the dad from Breaking Bad, or I'm sorry, the dad from Malcolm in the Middle. And I remember I sold Breaking Bad to so many of my friends based on, hey, did you hear about this show Breaking Bad? Yeah, it's about the dad from Malcolm in the Middle, except he makes meth. And they're just like, what? What? And I got so many people hooked on that show just based on that. And
did you see the alternate ending to Breaking Bad?
Does it involve Huel waiting in the safe room?
No. It's Hal waking up and imagining Breaking Bad as a dream.
Oh yeah, I did that. And it was great because it was like both the actors like all that time later. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's not much to say about Hal. He's not exactly the deepest character. He's just, the classic sort of bumbling cartoon dad, and Cranston plays him to perfection. And, and of course he has to deal with Lois, who's just the worst.
Yeah.
She's the worst.
Let me just tell you this. Look, Malcolm in the Middle, I'm not a fan of the show at all. However, I will say is whenever I do tune in, the only reason I even don't change the channels is I love Cranston. He's the best part of the show. It's like I can tolerate Cranston. Everything else I hate, but I love Cranston.
Remember the Family Guy one? The Family Guy joke where I don't remember what they do.
It's she's going off more than she ever before. Unfortunately,
she's going off about like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on a strike. I'm going to go on a mom strike and blah, 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 blah.
Right,
you can just do your own dishes and do your own laundry and cook your own food because I'm on strike.
So Hal walks over to the fridge, and again, wonderfully voiced by Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston has a great sense of humor, by the way, so he loves it. He goes over, he removes like the freezer part of the fridge, and basically as she's going, and there's knocks her on the back of the head, knocking her out, and then it says, "We're free, boys. We're free." It's actually this wonderfully cinematic moment of like really nice music plays, like end of the movie music, like da da da. And they all just walk into the sunset together.
They're walking into the sunset. Oh yeah.
So I mean, there's like two examples of Hal I just love. Well, one I'm actually going to save when we get to Christmas in July, but
okay.
just an episode I really just, again, shows you how much I'm just dumbfounded by how this show is popular. There's an episode where literally they're in there, basically Lois, Hal, and Dewey, the youngest one. They're in an airport because Dewey has a piano recital or something, some crap. And she literally, throughout the episode, she intentionally, on some level, injures her child. She crushes his fingers.
Sounds like Peggy Hill status.
Like she blinds him, and God knows what, she does horrible things to this kid. Anyway, she berates him. It's horrible. Anyway, so then throughout the episode, that's going on. But here's where the episode actually is good. Hal, he bumps into a guy at the airport, and like a guy drops like an ID card of some kind, like a member's card to the little airport lounges. Basically, this idealizes the airport lounge, like the executive airport lounge. You have to go into like a special area, but you need like a membership. And he goes in there, and he's like enjoying the perks of membership. It's always the idea of like Hal being this withering violet of being constantly driven to the brink of sanity, trying to please all these crazy people in this family.
That's a beautiful description, yeah.
Anyway, so then he goes, the whole episode, he enjoys the fruits of being an executive, and they think he's the guy, and the guy was a big businessman. Anyway, so then there's this great bit where he's mistaken for the businessman. He's put into he just suddenly whisked away into a business meeting at the airport. And basically video monitors and stuff, and it's like a bunch of like Asian guys. They're doing business with an Asian company of some kind. I forget what the exact parameters were. So the point is he says, okay, so here's the question. Yes? We need an answer. Yes or no? And he has no idea what it's about. So he just says, Cranston, oh my God, what Cranston? Yes, and they all rejoice. Yeah, and then he says, then they laugh maniacally, and then he says, "Are we the?" No, he says, "Are we the good guys?" And then they all laugh maniacally, not giving him an answer. And they said, "Well, you just made $68 million," and of course, he didn't realize the guy made $68 million. Well, he's just like, okay, he just leaves, and it's not spoken about again. The point is just Cranston. I would watch it if someone could just cut out all the Cranston parts of Malcolm Middle. I'd watch that. Just not.
Oh, I'm sure there's like best of Hal clips all over.
I mean, yeah. Let's give me like a whole cut of the series with that, and I'll watch it.
Just the whole cut. Cut Lois out.
Seriously, absolutely no Lois. I can take or leave Muniz sometimes, but just give me all Hal.
Well, come on. You like Dewey and Reese, right? Give those two some credit.
Reese. I don't really like Reese at all. Man.
You like Dewey though.
Yeah, I don't really like. I don't know.
I like Dewey. Yeah, whatever.
I liked, however, I did like one episode where Reese hypnotized Hal continuously. I thought it was pretty funny.
Okay, well, what's your number 7?
Okay, my number 7, Frank Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh man. Oh, okay, that's a good one. If I would have thought of that, I probably would have picked it. Nice.
So yeah, Frank Barone, wonderfully played by, unfortunately, the late Peter Boyle. You know, he passed away years ago, but he was a fantastic actor. The point is, Frank Barone is one of the classic TV's dad because he was, again, kind of in a similar vein. He's kind of like a modern Archie Bunker almost. He was a little skewed a little more on Grandpa. Yet again, the kids factored in. That's the reason I couldn't put Ray Barone on this list because really the kids don't factor into the show at all. Really.
Yeah, fair point.
They're just plot devices, and even the show has called themselves on this several times within the show, saying, "Where are the kids? They're never down here." The point is like
just like how Breaking Bad got self-referential with the breakfast stuff.
Yeah, and Bates Motel, but we're not gonna get it.
I think Bates Motel is kind of being referential towards Breaking Bad,
which I think would be awesome if that's good.
All right, anyways.
Point is, Frank Barone again. He's kind of more towards like kind of the grandpa, like he's quirky and he's old, but no, seriously though, he was just this great father who's like screwing his kids up so badly. It's so hilarious. Just he's just cranky dad. That's what he is. And he's like he has like the classic fatherly. He has these fatherly traits of he always wants to fix things like any father in real life does. Or like any grandfather in real life is like, oh, I can fix. I'll save you the money. Let me try. And always ruins it by whatever he fixes. But it's also like they have the constant wife jokes between him and Marie, just saying, "You're a trophy wife," just a lot of really funny jokes. And actually, he is a blend of like a lot of characters in Everybody Loves Raymond. He's a blend of Ray Romano's father. He's mostly Ray Romano's father with touches of, in terms of the humor, of Phil Rosenthal's father, who's the showrunner of the show.
Okay.
It's like Rosenthal's mother's pretty much all Marie. It's all her. Like all of Dad is pretty much Al Barone, which is
nice.
Yeah. Ray Romano's father, Al Romano's. Yeah. Point is, Frank Barone, he always had like the funny one-liners, and he was just like, always like cranky dad. And here's the important part, though. Frank Barone, he had these kind of similar Archie Bunker. He had these great dramatic moments too, of like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like there's so many great moments to pick from, but I mean, just the point is like there are these moments where he would just be so on the surface thick-headed and like in denial of like there's this episode like it's called Pet the Bunny or something where Ray is like he wrote a eulogy for his father just as a writing exercise, and of course you can imagine how it's going to get screwed up when you have nosy parents like he does. So eventually they find you wrote a eulogy for me. What's wrong with you? You just can't wait, can you? So it's real funny. But anyways, the point is in the eulogy, Ray wrote down like the most happy moment he had, the happiest memory he had of his father, where he caught him one day petting the pet bunny, which again, his father's just like a harsh guy, like always says, "Now you Nancy boys, get out of here." He's like always just real. Like he calls him Nancy and he makes fun of him for that, and he's just like saying, "Oh, you're crying because I'm pushing you too hard to becoming men," that sort of thing. So points like Frank, again, another fault with Everybody Loves Raymond when you rewatch is that the women really are stupid in the show a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's like, stay out of it. It's like Deborah says, "Oh, Frank, when you pet the bunny," he denies it. What do you expect him to do, lady?
Yeah, Patricia Heaton was kind of like definitely the weak link of that show.
Well, I mean, also, it's just the female, like in general, like Marie was also like, the mother, when she mommies the boys, that's hilarious. When she's catty with Deborah, that's where the show hits a wall for me.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Because there's a simple solution here. Kick her out. Say, "Get out of my house. You insult my wife, get out of my house." Okay, point is, throughout the episode, eventually comes to the point where like they all confront, like, "Hey, you pet the bunny," and then there's this moment at the end where it's just Frankie's like, oh, pissed off, and he goes downstairs and he's like just banging on stuff, and he's like, "Ah!" Anyway, so Ray goes down there, he talks to him, and says, "I never pet the bunny," and then he eventually comes out with it saying, "You kids, I did all the work." Like how parents do; they always take care of the pet.
Sure.
Anyway, so he's basically, in a way, is acknowledging it without fully saying, "I did this." He's saying he's complaining about them, saying, "You never did it. I always had to take care of that bunny," and basically, essentially saying, "So what if I pet it? No one else gave it the attention it needed." And he says, "Well, how dare you put that in that letter? I'm the tough guy." So ultimately, it's just like this moment where Ray just kind of comes out and says, "Well, I put it in there because I wanted like people remember you fondly because you're like the toughest SOB I ever knew." And he says, "You're gonna put that in the letter?" And the point is like he's so like, "Well, that's what I want in the letter. Call me out like that. Say I was a tough guy." And he says, "Well, maybe put the bunny thing in there. Soften. I'll leave it up to you." So the point is, Frank Barone, he would have these soft moments where really he was like the toughest guy on the surface, but a really soft guy underneath, all these hilarious dad moments. And, you can see in the performance towards the end, Peter Boyle, in the beginning, was more energetic with the anger and like the hilarity and stuff. And towards the end, like season 9, you could tell he was starting to get sick towards the end because he only passed away like a year or two after.
Yeah, right.
However, the guy still brought it though. He brought the laughs, and he was a little tired in the movements, but he was still always there. It's something to applaud a TV dad. Like always bringing the humor, bringing the laugh, and bringing the emotion, even when you get up there. So yeah.
Okay. So let's see. So I guess that brings us to my number 6. My number 6. This guy's a classic for me because he's just a really iconic sort of. I mean, he's a new character per se, but he's just had such an epic storyline, and that storyline like revolves so much around being a father and keeping his kids safe.
And it's Arthur.
No. No, I'm talking about
other way.
Rick Grimes. Carl! from The Walking Dead. This guy's awesome, man. He's the main character of the show. He started out as a sheriff before the zombie apocalypse. Throughout the first 3 seasons of the show, he kind of maintained the sheriff role and kept the uniform on and everything. But over the course of the series, he kind of like shed that attitude. And his whole character arc has kind of been like, you know, at the interest of keeping his son safe, because that's really his primary motivator. He's got a 10-year-old son at the start of the show who's now 14, and he's also got an infant daughter who, and so his primary motivation is keeping those two safe at any means necessary, even if it means kind of like stabbing other people in the group in the back or stuff like that. He's not a malicious character at all, but he is very unhinged when it comes to the primary, you know, just I got to keep Carl and Judith safe. And it's really quite fascinating in the way it plays out. And Andrew Lincoln just does a terrific acting job. He's you know, it's just a really, really compelling main character. I like some of the symbolism, some of the visual symbolism that they've done with him. I think a good example is throughout the course of the series, he kind of grew this really thick, kind of like homeless man beard. And then they arrive at this one location that's kind of like a safe point, and he shaves the beard. And it's kind of symbolic of him kind of, you know, bringing down some of the walls, you know, some of the mental security walls that he had. But in the end, you know, Rick, there's a lot of stuff I could be saying about Rick right now, but it's shit. I'm sorry about the banging, but it'd be kind of getting into spoiler territory, so I'll just leave it at that. What's your number 6? Because goddamn, I need to.
Right, my number 6 is Harry Morgan from Dexter. So yeah, Harry Morgan. First of all, it's a really interesting case, to say the least. You know, he's a guy who was like top cop of Miami PD in Dexter. And the idea is like in the whole story, the whole grand story of Dexter. It's Dexter was found essentially at a crime scene, and basically Harry Morgan took the kid in. You know, basically the kid suffered a traumatic experience, saw his well, I don't know how sentient the Dexter was. I mean, he remembers the blood very vividly. Point is, like, kid is found in his mother's blood. I mean, how can you expect a kid to come out normal from that? That's a traumatic thing, no matter how young you are. So Harry Morgan takes this kid in, and he raises it, which is a really noble thing. Anyway, so kind of as years progress, Harry Morgan takes notice of my son has serial killer. My surrogate son, has a serial killer tendencies, and that scares the heck out of me. So he let's just say, as we discover through the series, he took measures to ensure that Dexter he was channeling this through a specific outlet that would protect innocent people. And the point is, like, it's a really interesting case that he had an opportunity. He could have just called. He could have got rid of his son, but like any parent, they can't bring themselves to do that. So we saw potential here. My son. I understand why my son does this, because he suffered a traumatic experience and he has this compulsion to kill people. I would love to cure him of it, but let's face it, I don't think it's really possible. It's not in the cards. What I can do is at least limit the damage and maybe channel to something maybe good. Because, Harry Morgan, I'm sure being a cop, has seen his share of unjust kind of guys walking free. And like Dexter also took note of this, which leads to a moment in season 2, I think, where we see like one of his first like human kills in his early years was a man who got away, like a criminal who got away from a crime that horrified debatably, actually, because James Remar, the actor who plays him, which, by the way, James Remar, phenomenal actor. I love this guy. He is one of my picks, really. If I ever need to find like a new voice for Batman, that's the guy I'd go to, James Remar. He's done voice work before. Point is, James Remar, phenomenal actor. He's kind of commented on the scene where he throws up after he sees it. Some people say it's to the horror of what his son's done. That's what his son has done. That's how Dexter perceives it. However, the actor said maybe that's just because he was getting sick, because that's how the story went. He got sick and he died. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. Well, the point is, Harry Morgan is just this really interesting character who took something really negative, he channeled something positive. And one of the brilliant conceits of Dexter is like he's always kind of the idealized version of his father as a conscience, is always around Dexter, giving him advice and always just being that guiding voice for him in the moment, saying, "You're making a mistake, Dexter. You shouldn't do this. Remember the code of Harry."
Oh, sure, sure. That's like kind of like the big device of the whole show.
Yeah, there's this idea that he instilled in his son a code to make sure he doesn't cross a line, which I thought was really such a brilliant notion. Like a serial killer with a code of ethics brought into him by his father, who did something kind of heroic, you know.
Hmm.
Point is, I've always had an affinity for Harry Morgan. He's always a really cool plot device. Anything you'd like to say about dear old Mr. Morgan?
No, I think you covered it. I think you covered it. Like you said, he's kind of more of a plot device. It's kind of interesting in that really most of his appearances on the show are not necessarily Harry, the actual physical character, but Harry as he appears in Dexter's head.
Yeah, there's always room for there to wonder, like, how much of this you think Harry would actually be on board for. But still, it's really moving, though, just to see it through Dexter's purview. Like, the only emotional connection Dexter really kind of had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like it's Deborah and his father, really.
Okay, so as we move into the top five, I have to remind that I have to be off in a half hour, so let's kind of keep things moving. Yeah. So my number 5 is a very iconic TV dad. Yes, yes. You really wanted this guy, but I took him. He's mine. He's Ricky Ricardo. Lucy, I'm home. Yeah, yeah. How can you not love Ricky Ricardo? I think Ricky Ricardo is one of the most memorable and iconic and funny and enjoyable and lovable dads and husbands in the history of TV. Oh God, no, not that guy. I don't know. He's just so iconic. I think he kind of just speaks for himself, you know. And I love how in the early days of the show, he was really kind of just this career-driven, big band guy, you know, just really flamboyant with all of that. And then as little Ricky came into the picture, he kind of like got more kind of toned down and, you know, more kind of focused on being a dad. And it was kind of a really genuine sort of character arc for him, you know, to become less focused on his whole big band career and more focused on his role as a father.
But, you know,
so just a lot of credit to Desi Arnaz and just a really, really iconic character. One of the pantheons, one of the Mount Rushmores of iconic TV characters, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, the thing with, I'll tell you one thing. My favorite episode of I Love Lucy, it's in the...
Is it the Superman one?
Yes, the Superman one is one of my absolute favorites of I Love Lucy, and just that it just shows you Ricky Ricardo is such a good dad. He pulled out all the stops for his kid, got him Superman at his birthday party when it seemed impossible, and also it points to Lucy too for kind of trying to fill in for the Man of Steel on short notice, and of course it's like one of the best gags ever. It's like she's on the ledge. Wait, you mean to tell me? Wait, Ricardo, you mean to tell me you've been married for 15 years? Yes, 15 years. Huh, and they call me Superman. Oh, but seriously, just Ricky Ricardo is he's always been a great character, so kind of a loving guy. You always look past the marital troubles because he did truly love Superman. Sure. And of course, yeah, there's the idea. It makes all the sense in the world he'd be a great father, too. And he's the guy who would do anything for his kids. You know, good old Ricky Ricardo, loving guy.
All right, what's your number 5?
Willie Tanner from Alf. You remember Willie Tanner?
Vaguely, yeah.
The father from the Alf Christmas special. Willie Tanner is a great character. You know, it's the idea he was always kind of like the voice of reason within the family, but also he built such a great friendship with Alf. You know, like basically Alf crashed into his garage, and there was always that kind of like that bad first impression between them of like, you crashed into my garage. You know, I love how realistically they approach that. By the way, of like the idea they're still paying off the garage years into the show. It's like the repair bills for the garage and stuff. And the idea that Alf always breaks things and costs Willie money, and the idea Alf he can't leave the house really, so he's like charging stuff to Willie's account and like using his identity, like always has to deal with. The point is, he and Alf
before identity theft became a thing.
Yeah, so the point is like he and Alf are like kind of the best comedic pairing of like, you know, the one who causes all the trouble. Like he means well though. Alf means well, and he realizes that, and he's like the patriarch that means well too. He was a good father. He was always there for the kids, and that was one of the really great things about Alf Tiki, that it wasn't obviously big, you know, flamboyant. Well, not flamboyant, but you know, like kind of the big thing of the show. Literally, the namesake is Alf. He's our main focus of the show. But really, there was some good family stuff in there too. The idea that Liz, God, I think it's Liz. I don't want. I'm pretty sure it's Liz. Liv. Oh God. It's sorry, folks. It's been years. I'm a little rusty. The eldest daughter, like the relationship she had with the parents is always great because like she would go through kind of the teenage phases, but it wouldn't be. It would be. They do it smartly though. They do it non-conventionally. So like, she was like kind of close to the college age, I guess. So she would be like, "Oh, I can't." But you saw a little bit of in the Christmas special. Tiki. Remember, she said, "Oh, I can't stand this place, but I understand why you guys like it. I'm not. I'm just sorry. I'm this way.
Sure,
You can understand what." No, I said, that's literally what she would say. She'd say like. You can understand why I'm a little disappointed in this, but I support you guys. The point, like, there was a great dynamic. They all respected each other there. It's like Liz or sorry, I feel so bad. I think I'm screwing up her name. Lynn. Oh, it's Lynn. That's it. It's Lynn.
You can do it.
Yeah, it's Lynn. So the point is, Lynn, she was always just this great dynamic with this family, and also there's Brian, the young kid, and Wooly was there. And again, the Christmas episode is one of the best episodes of Alf, and just showing like he was building a bicycle. And
we've already gone into that, yeah.
We have. So the point is, Willie Tanner was always kind of this great father. Was always had like the weight of the world on his shoulders because he always had to come with quick excuses to the neighbors, like, "What was that? Oh, it was."
What was that?
You know, like Alf, like sometimes he would get out of the house and be like a crisis mode, and Willie would easily be able to snap into that. The point is, he was the model for the responsible dad who understood things. You know, he was always a fun dad. He's always really funny. He always did this funny quirk whenever he would get stressed out. He'd like lift the glasses up and like put his fingers around like the little tear duct in the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always like putting his fingers to like kind of like a headache pose of like, Alf, why would you do that? So Alf, let me understand. You thought it'd be rational to try and eat the cat. Something like this. Willie was always just.
Oh, Alf loves the cats, man.
Exactly.
Keep him away from cats.
So the point is, Willie was always just kind of that fun. Kind of that great father figure, and he was always kind of a great dynamic with Alf. And Alf was like his surrogate problem child. It was always funny, and there was a true friendship there, which is really nice. Anyway,
okay, so my number 4, I'm going back to another very classic kind of black and white TV dad, but this guy's a little more unconventional than Ricky Ricardo, although kind of like. At the surface, the fun thing about this show is how damn conventional it tries to make a crazy premise. And so I'm talking about Mr. Herman Munster from the Munsters. Oh yeah. Let's see if I can do the stomping thing.
Lily.
Darn.
Lily.
Lily.
Oh, good old Fred Gwynn. Fred Gwynn.
I mean, first of all, just I love the visual look and style of the show, how they try and make it as close as possible to like a nuclear family sitcom while still having like all the trademark kind of like weird crap and, you know, the makeup and everything like that just made the show really fun. Herman Munster, what makes the guy so lovable is that he's essentially a kid in a man's body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's so excitable. He's so optimistic about stuff, and it's funny because his son is almost kind of like a darker character than him in many ways because, you know, his son's dealing with like, you know, the metaphorical version of puberty, which is turning into a werewolf, I guess. And so really Herman is kind of like the childlike figure who's also the fatherly figure to Eddie, and it's really kind of quite nice in some ways. And but really just what makes the guy lovable is just, you know, his infectious personality and the awesome makeup work and, you know, the performances, and he's just an all-around awesome character, I think. I don't have much to say about him, but I really had to put him in my top 5.
Yeah, you know, he was like kind of he was a great unconventional dad. Like, he's such a nice guy, and I like how he had like kind of the father. He would read the paper and be like, he didn't have like the monstery voice. He had just kind of this high pitch, like such a nice.
No, he didn't have a monstery voice at all. Yeah,
it was like, Eddie, now listen to your mother, something like that. You so such a nice guy.
And you know, one of the other fun things about him was the dynamic between him and the what was it?
Al Lewis. You mean? Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Marilyn.
Yeah, Marilyn. So.
Yeah. Because it's so funny because they come in and they just view Marilyn, who's just
as
this typical.
Monster.
Yeah, and she's just the most typical cliche valley girl you could possibly think of.
We always said she was the oddball. It's like the Munsters did the Meg thing way before Family Guy did, but in a class.
But what I love about it is Marilyn is just like so loving towards them,
Mm-hmm.
and I love how Herman, he's like always trying to stick up for her, and he's always trying to be like, "Now don't you worry, Marilyn." You know.
See, it's like Bizarro
so
Family Guy. It's like a Bizarro, more loving Family Guy.
Right. Okay, so that's all I have to say about him. What's your number 4?
Number 4, we kind of touched him a little bit, but Walter White.
Oh yeah, I gotta have him in there.
Walter Hartwell White. Oh my God, we love this guy. There are several videos dedicated.
Definitely in the morally ambiguous area for sure.
He is. But just I've always loved Walter White from the get-go. It's the simple idea of a father, the kind of with the fatherly archetype of a father who will do whatever it takes to help his family, and we see him literally do whatever it takes to help his family. He's he's a guy who knows his ultimate fate is to die. And with that kind of that motivation, he is trying not live life to the fullest, but trying to make sure that his family can go on to have a life of their own after he's gone. So it's like kind of that really interesting perennial thing of like, can my family strive without me? It'd be the worst. Like dying is one thing. I'm not trying to be be a philosopher or anything here, but I'm just saying like I can imagine in the shoes of a dying man of thinking, I would. Dying is like is an end to things, and it's like kind of like a peaceful respite of some kind you can imagine. I'm not going to speak for whatever. I won't get into political or anything, but basically, you die, it's a respite. You don't have to worry about any of your problems. Because we see Walter White, he had a rough life, kind of trying to making ends meet as a car wash guy and a teacher. And had he just gotten the diagnosis, it might be like a little bit of peaceful. Like, I'm going to live life to the fullest, yeah. But then he realized the big reality of like, can my family live without me without having a worse life than I have now?
Right.
Just that idea of that motivation for a father who really does care about his family. Again, he has. Again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Junior, but the idea that Junior he isn't as advantaged as other kids in a way.
Mm-hmm.
He does have literally. I guess literally, he has a handicap, right?
Who, Walter Jr.?
Yeah.
Yeah, cerebral palsy. That is most definitely a handicap.
That would give him like a handicap sticker, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I'm just curious. I'm just genuinely asking. I don't know if because he seems well just because in real life RGMA doesn't need the crutches, My point is Walter White is like put in a position where it's really kind of calls into like kind of the essence of what a father does, provides for the family. He makes sure everyone's taken care of, and there's a lot of genuine heart and care through really unconventional means. Believe me, really very unconventional means. I mean, again, the third episode is like the big question of are you willing to make sure your family lives on? And he does that.
Of course.
And from that on, it goes from there, and he builds a whole criminal empire. And again, he realizes he lost perspective there, family being the motivation. But again, he did it for him in the end,
And the whole show, like really, literally the last scene of the entire show, I like to think of as kind of like when you look in between the lines of the lyrics of that song, I like to think of the ending of the show as Walt kind of like acknowledging and embracing that him making meth was almost kind of his way of like an affair or something like that. It was like his way of like dealing with, with just getting the thrill out of life that he was craving, and that, the diagnosis kind of gave him the excuse to do and to pursue.
Yeah, but serious.
And the whole point of the show is kind of like his obsession and his love for his craft, for his art, which he considers it.
But it doesn't take at all away from the endearingness of why he kind of did jumpstart things in the first place. In the end, the family is there. I mean, whether it's all about him or not, it's like the fact is, okay, you can be the artist, you can be the meth maker, you can be the man building an empire, the man, the one who knocks. You can be that. But still, the idea is, in that realistically, you have a family that you still have formed these attachments to, and you don't want to lose that. And you're cocky enough to think that I can have everything and not compromise what I have. And of course, towards the end, we see an Ozymandias that crumbles.
Oh yeah.
But let me run through this real quick. Because again, one of the big elements I really love about Walter White's character, I love the fatherly moments with him. Again, some of my favorite moments of Breaking Bad between him and Junior. Because unfortunately,
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I love the episode where like he tells Junior about his father and like how he saw he didn't want Junior to see him in a state of weakness like he saw his father in. I mean,
and of course, there's also that great moment towards the very beginning of the series where
that's my favorite part. Tiki, let me tell.
Yeah, take it. Yeah.
So this actually, I will attest. No matter how much I love Breaking Bad, my favorite moment in the entire series is in the first episode. I love the moment where Walter White basically goes to a store, like an old shopping outlet store or something, and Walter Jr.'s trying on some pants, and again he's unfortunately the kid has cerebral palsy, and he has logistic trouble to get the pants on. He's like, Dad, he gets in there, helps him out. It's a sad, realistic situation. But,
sure.
I mean, he's trying. You have to make do. Anyway, so he gets done. He's looking in the mirror and this realistic conversation, like saying, "Oh, these pants fit. They look good." And then like these really jerks in the store, like three kids, like adult, not teenagers, three guys. Three guys are in the store saying, "Oh, they're making fun of him like real jerks," saying, "Oh, he needs help putting his pants on." Anyway, so then Walter White is like Skylar White being again. This is when Skylar
Eisenberg kicks in.
This is when Skylar was good. She was going to take charge and talk to him. But then, imagine from Junior's perspective, Mom has to bail him out, which he doesn't.
Oh yeah, sure.
So then Heisenberg kicks in again. Heisenberg, before he found the head, he goes around. It looks like he runs away. And again, Skylar's like, "What are you doing, Walt?" She's thinking. And then we find out Walter White is so awesome. Because this is when he just got the diagnosis, has not told anyone. So he knows ultimately he's heading for he's got a foot in the grave. So he's going to live life to the fullest, and as long as it serves his family. He ran out the whole way of the store. He came into the front way behind him. He kicks the guy in the back of the leg, like the calf, and he's like stepping on it, causing a lot of pain. "Hey, what's wrong? Having trouble walking?" Steps on, causing a lot of pain. Really awesome. And then again, the family, Skylar and Junior, like in shock of Junior's got a smirk on. It's like, "Oh my God, what's he doing?" And then the guy gets up and is looking right at him. Again, we see how much he towers over Walter White, like a foot taller than him. He says, Go on, take your shot. But you only got one. Make it count." Anyway, so the guy just gets freaked out. "You're crazy, man." They run away. That's just such an awesome moment for Walter White. The guy's been kind of wishy-washy in life, and he gets a moment to step up, and it really counts. It's so great. And I love that moment. Again, so many great fatherhood moments. I could go on. Again, he's kind of a surrogate father. We
could literally do like a top 10 Walter White fatherly moments.
But yeah,
which is fascinating for as morally ambiguous as Walter White is. He's got all those moments. He's got a ton of stuff that makes him a great character, a great father.
Epitomizes the duty of a father. That's what the guy does.
Sure.
He's doing whatever it takes to help your family.
Indeed. Okay. Well, I'd say that's a pretty good transition into my number 3, because my number 3 is also kind of a very morally gray person who would do whatever it takes to help his family. And I am talking about, of course, about one of my favorite characters from this show. And this show is not one of my favorite shows, but definitely in season 1, it had a lot of potential. I'm talking about Mr. Noah Bennett.
Yeah.
Horn-rimmed glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy is awesome. It's like, of course, when we first saw him on the show for a first stretch of episodes, we thought he might be the bad guy. He was kind of a red herring in a way. And as the season went on, especially towards the midway point in season 1, we really dove into his relationship with Claire. And, of course, he's an adoptive father to Claire, which makes it all the more kind of poignant. And this guy is just a father through and through. And that's really the fascinating thing about his character is that, yeah, he's gray and he's shady. And, to the point where later on in the show's run, they're literally going to make jokes about how untrustworthy this guy is. But at the end of the day, he has this daughter who was literally saved from a burning building. And, of course, the circumstances of how she survived the fire were ambiguous and leads to her healing powers. But, and he just connects right away to this baby, and he knows that he can't give her up. And so he basically keeps her in hiding.
Oh, yeah.
And so the episode that I rewatched specifically for the show was Company Man. I'm sure you remember that episode, BlueDragonFive.
I probably do, but the names kind of escaped me. But,
okay, well, let me see. It's It's where Matt Parkman, and remember the nuclear guy, Ted?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they hold the Bennett family hostage because they want answers. Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, the Haitian gets involved. First of all, I think there's some really kick-ass moments with Noah in dealing with Matt and doing the mind stuff where he's kind of like telling Matt stuff with his mind because of course Parkman can read minds.
Mm-hmm.
But also there's this really cool moment where to not give away any information, he starts thinking in Japanese, which I think is really genius.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, at the end of the day, he has to basically sacrifice himself. He has to get shot and then have his memories erased of Claire on the bridge overlooking the desert, where he had to shoot his former companion, who was Doctor Who, a.k.a. the Dark Elf from Thor the Dark World, who was a much less memorable character. But I mean, you know what I'm talking about, BlueDragonFive. Just the way that scene is shot, the bridge and everything. And then, Noah, he's like, Claire, turn around and cover your ear, sweetheart. And then he's telling the Haitian, like, aim right below here. See, it's the only place you'll get me that I won't die. And then, so the Haitian shoots him, and then Claire runs up to him, and oh man, and the performance on Jack Coleman just so genuine as he's about to get his mind swiped. Claire's going, she's crying her eyes out. Noah, he's holding it together, and he's just like, I love you, Claire Bear. And and that's the end of the episode, right as he's about to get his mind wiped. And, it's so sad.
I love it when he called her Claire Bear. But yeah, he's got so many great moments. Like,
and of course, another moment during that episode, right before that happened, was when they're it's when Claire's, I think she's like 13 years old, and he's trying on glasses because he's getting bad eyesight.
Yeah.
And Claire asks, like, well, Dad, I need glasses because you needed glasses and Grandpa needed glasses. And so Noah decides to have the talk with Claire about being adopted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really powerful scene. Again, props to Hayden Panettiere as well, because she really sells it. And and of course Noah, he just goes on the spiel about, like, we're your real family, we are the ones that raised you, we care about you, we'll never give you up, and stuff like that. And then to top it all off, at the very end of the scene, Claire puts on the iconic horn-rimmed glasses on him, and then he asks, how do I look? And then she's like, you look like my dad. There you go, drop mic.
Yeah, he's got some great moments. Like, I remember, like, just the idea of this guy, like, he was just the loving father. Like, he gave, like, a boyfriend the talk in the first episode, like, scaring the crap out of him.
Right.
I can't remember if he killed him or not, but again, it's been a while. But also, I love the moment where, like, the reality, the idea he actually works for a paper company and, like, thinks season 2.
Yeah.
And, like, he just kicks the crap out, like, his nosy, like, not his nose, but his, like, annoying superior of, like, saying, well, you gotta do your job. So, point is, I've loved this guy. This guy, along with Parker's probably my favorite character in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Parkman, sorry.
Parkman, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really here. I haven't finished here, so I got to rewatch.
I haven't either, so you're not alone in that. I don't think we're missing much.
Yeah. But I had a really great start, though. Anyway, so again, he's a fantastic character. I definitely see he's one of the best father characters. You're right. Okay.
All right. So with that in mind, what is your number 3?
Tim Taylor from Home Improvement.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Oh, I love
Tim Allen. It's not a classic there.
Yeah, I love Tim Allen, and this show is really good. I mean, his dynamic with the kids, and you saw them really grow up over time, and, like, kind of the really interesting paths they took ultimately. Brad was like, they were all reflective with elements of him.
Mm-hmm.
Mark kind of started off. Mark was the interesting one. He always started off like his father, all cute, and then he became just kind of really weird. Like, not weird, but I'm sorry, he became like darker, gother. And
sure.
He had a goth period. I think at the end he just straightened out a little bit more. Like, he lost the makeup and the eyelid, the dyed hair and stuff. But the point is, like, they did realistic transitional phases here. And, like, Randy, the middle one, had the wit of him, and it was real fun, the humor and stuff. And it was really sweet. Tim Taylor was always, like, a likable guy. It was a simple premise. He was a great sitcom dad. It's the guy who would. It was a great bottle format, in a good way. It was like this idea. This idea of he. he figures, he goes there's a fatherly experience, the kids are going through something, he learns his lesson, he does something wrong, he's going to get screwed up. He consults Wilson, who, oh my God, I love Wilson. It's such a shame Earl Heineman's gone, but I love Wilson. He's one of my favorite characters of that show. Anyway, so Wilson will give him some advice. He misinterprets it, but then as he tries to quote it, but he got the lesson, though. He understood what he did wrong. And anyway, in the end, he fixed it. So the point is, he was a dad who screwed up. It was really funny. And he had these quirks of, like, he would always build things bigger, better, more power, and it would ultimately crumble or blow up. And it was hilarious. And again, they had these really tender, sweet moments too.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this isn't really fatherly, but my favorite moment from Home Improvement actually had Ernest Borgnine in it. Remember Mermaid Man?
Oh yeah, sure.
He was in an episode, and the point is, this is a really sweet thing where he's dancing with his wife, with Jill, and they play like the Nat King Cole song, "When I Fall in Love with You," and there's this it's a really sweet moment. When I fall in love with you, da, 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 da. That's real sweet. Point is, he was a great father, really hilarious. He's like one you would want to see it for a TV dad, and of course Tim Allen, always charming. Buzz Lightyear, yeah,
hell yeah. We were joking around, being another WDW Magic guy, we're joking around about, like, what if in the universe of Pixar, Buzz Lightyear as a character became so famous that they gave him his own live-action movie in the realm of, like, the recent superhero movies?
Right.
And what if they got Tim Allen to play the live-action superhero Buzz Lightyear?
That'd be pretty funny. They've actually, on Home Improvement, they made jokes of, like, he's holding the Buzz Lightyear with a little girl, and he's, like, pushing the button, and he's, like, copying the voice.
Okay. So my number 2, this is the only show that I kind of gave a holdover and put 2 characters on the list instead of just one. Because this show, at its core, it really is about kind of like the act of trying to keep people together and keep families together. And I feel like this guy not only represents, like, a great father figure to his actual children, but also, like, he was the definitive father figure to the entire Walking Dead group when he was around. So I'm talking about Mr. Herschel Green. This guy, he was a Christian. He was, of course, a man of faith. And during the early days of the zombie apocalypse, he actually kind of kept all his family alive and corralled up in the barn when they were infected in hopes that they get better. And so all kinds of storylines like that. He went through a lot of major dramatic changes over the course of the series. He was on for 3 seasons, and he lost a leg at one point, and when he lost a leg, he became even more badass. There were a couple of episodes of him just in straight-up action hero mode. But what really made this character, what really sold it for me personally, was the dynamic that he has between his daughter Maggie, who, keep in mind, this is a farmer. He's a stereotypical kind of father who lives in a remote farm, and Maggie, is a stereotypical kind of a farmer's daughter. And Maggie is having a relationship with Glenn, who is an Asian pizza delivery kid. And Glenn is actually, in spite of, like, that unflattering career, he's actually one of the most warm-hearted and heroic people in the entire cast. And they use him as a scavenger because he can fit into tight spaces and everything, and knows his way around the city because he was a pizza delivery boy, so he knows all the shortcuts and stuff. So it's really cool how the show kind of uses everyone's background to their advantage. But anyways, Glenn and Maggie, what really sells it is how Herschel responds to, Glenn and Maggie getting together, and how Herschel really takes it upon himself to not just be, the approving father-in-law, but to also be a father in himself to Glenn. And I don't want to spoil a lot of stuff, but there's definitely some really, really touching and moving scenes between just Glenn and Herschel and their dynamic. And like I said, Herschel really does become, especially towards the end of his run, he becomes the father figure to the group. And he does go out, and I won't spoil how, but it's heartbreaking, and it completely shatters the whole foundation of the group. And just feel the weight of what Herschel brought to the table and how much everyone looked up to him. So in my money, he's like an iconic sort of like, not just a fantastic father, but just an overall sort of father figure within the grand fabric of the show. And that's what makes him really good in my mind.
My number 2.
Yeah.
Philip Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Uncle Phil.
Nice.
Now, believe me, I racked my brains over between this and my number 1. I kind of really want to put Uncle Phil number 1, but he's more uncle than father, so I kind of had to.
Exactly.
But I love him so much, and
I was considering and putting him on myself, but I got hung up on the uncle thing.
But however, I mean, he is a father. He has 3 kids after all.
True.
Father, plus he's a father figure to Will. So I mean, you know, the point is, that's kind of another reason I kind of wanted to do TV dads over movie dads, because I mean. I've been watching reruns of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and unfortunately we lost James Avery last year.
Yeah.
And every time I see it, he was so brilliant at that role. And I was just thinking, James, I keep stupidly saying to myself when I'm watching, it's like, I miss you, James Avery. I do. I mean, he delivered such a great performance. There's some great comedy there, but also he knew how to act with the drama. You know, he really
absolutely.
There are 2 big dramatic moments for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But again, I want to emphasize he had great comedy too. Like, he was always they had the great one-liners. He had always great dynamics because they poked fun at his weight. But he also had these great moments where he would have they do the great twist on the whole. Let's have a father-son fireside chat. You know, like, let's sit down, let's talk through our problems. You know, you're grounded, all that stuff. They turned it on his head because he would go pretty much psychotic with it and be hilarious. You know, he would just yell at the Carlton and Will for getting into a situation. You know, he'd yell at them, and then they joke for a while because James Avery Will would crack a joke and he'd like play along with it. Oh yeah, that's funny, and they're all laughing, and then he's like, "Do I look like a white guy named Warren to you?" Oh, it's really actually poked fun at Leave It to Beaver. Actually says, "Oh, worked for the Beavers. Do I look like a white guy named Ward to you?" Cool continuity there.
Yeah.
But seriously, he was just he was great. But the 2 moments are, one, everyone knows this moment where Will's father factors into the episode. Will's father wasn't abandoned.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try to recap because it's just the point is the ending of it is it's Will's father. He promised Will he would take him on a journey, but then on a trip with him so they could bond. But then he bails out the last minute. Uncle Phil is not surprised. You know, he's yelling at him, saying, you know, pretty much just calling him out. Bull, you know, you're not being a father. Like, I did this 3 times. Okay, I was there. I manned up. I did. Point says, well, you're the better man, Phil. And he leaves, and then there's this great moment of Will Smith earns like an Emmy in this scene. You know, he says, you know, I'm gonna have a better life without him. And Uncle, oh my God, I'm just thinking about it. Uncle Phil, the reactions in the scene are what sells it. You know, he just. Seeing Will yell at him, getting really impassioned, just saying, you know, I'm going to have a better life without him, be a better father than he ever was. I hate him. I really hate him. And Uncle Phil just gives us a look at it. After Will just like shouts at the top of his lungs, I hate him! I don't need him! And then he just looks at Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil is like, you can tell he's on the brink of tears, just looking at him like, I feel your pain, Will, I do.
Oh, yeah.
And then he says, Will just breaks down at this point, just saying, how come you don't want me, man? And then Uncle Phil, oh my God, just... James Avery, he pulls him in like that for a hug because he knows, almost like rapid fire, pulls him in for a hug because he needs it so badly in that moment. And he just breaks. They hold each other. It's a beautiful thing. The other moment is more like kind of the big, kind of bombastic, just James Avery as a dramatic performer moments. Because oh my God, just Will and Carlton, they get stopped because they're black and they're driving a nice car. They're driving.
Yeah, okay. God, this show really was pretty cutting edge in social commentary back in the day.
And there were a lot more like this. There were some good social commentary.
Sure.
But I'm saying this is one of the biggies. Where this is in the first season, by the way. This is a biggie. First season, I think. Where Will and Carlton, they get pulled over. They put in the jail cell, and basically they're you know, they get a phone call, but no one answers, and they basically get kind of fingered for the crime they do. And the only way they have to like say, "Hey, we did it," and they get the attention, like on the news camera, so they get the attention. Uncle Phil and Aunt Vivian, they're there. So anyways, Uncle Phil just like they're both like they're up to here with the cops because the cops really just, they haven't given these kids the rights they really needed. You know, like they haven't given like the whole call the parents, call the stuff. And but his Uncle Phil being a lawyer and also eventually a judge, which I thought was awesome, by the way, how he became a judge. He basically says, no, you just basically says, control your wife here. Says, hey, don't you talk to her like that. Just like push it. Like, basically, Uncle Phil's like huge, you know, compared to these guys. Like, you're like 2 feet taller than these guys. He's just like yelling at the top of his lungs saying, you know, hey, you shut up right now. You listen to me. Did you call these kids parents? No, you didn't, because we're their parents. You know, did you call their lawyer? No, because I'm their lawyer. He's pretty much just firstly tearing these cops down as they think they have all the cards. It's so awesome to watch. And he's just pretty much, the end of it just, he accelerates to him saying, here's what you're going to do. You're going to open that cell, you're going to let those kids out, or else I'm going to tie this building enough litigation that your grandchildren are going to need lawyers. Oh my! James Avery, when it's just dramatic or comedy, he got it. He was such a wonderful human being. He knew he was a fantastic performer. He will be, even to this day, severely missed. He was a great TV dad.
All right. Good. Well said. All right. Well, my number one TV dad, I kind of saved this one for last. He's most definitely rough around the edges. He kind of represents a generational gap. I would like to say he's kind of like a lighter version of Archie Bunker in a way. But my number one TV dad is Mr. Red Foreman from that 70s show. Yeah, I couldn't resist. I love the crap out of this guy. And he's such a realistic dad, too, and that's what I love about him.
Well, he killed RoboCop. Sorry, it's a parrot joke.
Yeah. But, no, I mean, what is there to say about Red? You know, it's like we all know him for the kind of cranky, cankerous personality that he can be, you know, where he's like, you know, of course, his catchphrase is he's always calling his son, dumbass, you dumbass. But really, it's such a brilliant kind of conceit with this show because it's like Red Foreman is essentially like the TV dad of the 50s. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's kind of like his ideals. That's what he wants his world to be like. Mm-hmm. But he's living in the 70s.
Yeah, he's like you're like we shoveled snow to get to school type dad. You know?
Exactly. Right. Oh God, don't let me like break out my Tom Hanks Walt Disney.
Oh, don't make me cry.
Me and my brother would walk home from school every day. Okay, all right.
No time.
Yeah. So you know, but Red Foreman, I mean, the thing I love about this guy though is much like kind of Archie Bunker dealing with Edith, you know, Red dealing with Kitty was just such a delight and such a, you know, and of course, I don't know, there's just a lot of storylines of him and Eric kind of like growing genuinely closer because of problems that they're having with Kitty, and just a lot of connections. But I love the whole dynamic of, like I said, he's the bread and butter kind of leave it to Beaver type dad in his own mind. And then it's the 70s, so he's got kids in his basement who are running around, smoking pot all the time, doing God knows what else, you know, dropping acid, having sex, you know. And I must admit, though, I think one of the funniest moments in the whole series is close to the end of the series when they finally pay off the gag of them smoking weed in the basement, where Red and Kitty finally like walk in and they're just having their little circle, you know, and they're just like, and Red's just like, what the hell is going on? And then of course, you know, the show does the whole like stoned vision where everything's like wobbly, and then Red and Kitty are just like, we are so disappointed in you kids, blah blah blah. It's just great. But, you know, that apart from that, Red, he just has a big heart, you know, and it's like, but he's trying so desperately to be the cankerous old man, even though we know he has a heart. We know he loves the crap out of his kids. And I especially appreciate his fondness for Hyde. You know, he has a fondness for Hyde, and he also has kind of like Kelso really gets under his skin. So
Kelso's his policy.
Right, exactly. So it's really funny how he kind of bounces off all the different main characters in different ways. He doesn't really quite know what to make of Fez. And, so he's just a really fun character, a really lovable dad, and, just kind of the great mix of kind of the cankerous and crabby mixed with, like, the big heart. And I thought he was a perfect #1 choice for me.
I can go quickly with this next one. Number one, Howard Cunningham from Happy Days. Oh my god, I love Howard Cunningham.
Okay, yeah, done. You win.
Yeah, I mean, again, as much as I want to put Philip Banks out there, I mean, how could I not put Howard Cunningham at the top of this list? Seriously, how could I? I mean, Howard Cunningham, I'm not going to cover all the Christmas stuff we did with him because I think we covered that well. But seriously, though, the best part about Howard Cunningham in a nutshell, the reason I love Tom Bosley, first of all, Tom Bosley, awesome. Second of all, is just the way he played Howard Cunningham was like he was like a cutting edge. It's such a cutting edge interpretation of the '50s father in the '70s when they did that show.
Sure.
There was the idea that Howard Cunningham was the father who had a teenage son. He had Richie Cunningham, and Richie Cunningham, he would get into shenanigans. But when he did it responsibly. So when Howard Cunningham could, there's one episode where Richie gets drunk. By accident. Well, not by he gets drunk, but he thought like if he ate enough and drank enough, it would absorb it, but it didn't. So the point is, Richie has a hangover, and Howard Cunningham, being the smart, awesome dad that he is, he covers it up. He says, "Oh, Mary, he's not feeling well. He'll be fine." Anyways, Howard he has these great talks with Richie Cunningham. He was one of the best TV dads. He would have these real conversations with Richie, just saying, "Well, listen, I know what you're." Basically, in a nutshell, he knew. Richie's going. There's none of that whole dumb dad of oh, how could you do this? Not a rationally mad dad. They had real conversation. Where Howard would say, "Well, Richie, I think your body's punishing you enough right now. I think you've learned your lesson, though, haven't you?" "Yeah, I did that." So he had those real conversations. Were really awesome. And he was also kind of a father to the Fonz too, which is nice. He was always that great.
Oh yeah, most definitely, and I definitely saw that in the Christmas episodes.
And there was some great comedy too, especially between he's always sending Joni up when the adult stuff's happening. Again, we have these teenage kids are necking and stuff, and so. "Oh, Joni, off to your room," and Marion would always be Marion was the cool mom, but also she would be she would undermine Howard all the time in a loving way. And there's a lot of comedy coming from that. Of course, he hated Potsy, and he didn't hate Potsy, but how Potsy always gave him the business. It's Potsy. It's these great moments where he's just paired off with Potsy. Basically, after the scene ends, Potsy's still in the room, and Howard in the Cunningham kitchen. And it's just eating breakfast or something with him. He's like, "Potsy." It's so nicely, dude. Tom Bosley had such a nice delivery too. He's just "Potsy, what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm just having breakfast with you, Mr. C. I hope that's okay." Basically, he was kind of like the '50s version of Kel from Keenan and Kel. Really, he was.
Pretty much, yeah. That's a good comparison.
So the point is, Howard Cunningham was always just he was the smart dad. He was the one who actually knew what was up, and he would talk to you. And there was another moment where Richie, during election time, there was Ike and I forget who the other guy was. Ike and someone. Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's Fonz. Hey, I like Ike. But the point is, there was a election going on. Richie was backing the opposite guy that his father went with. I think his father was going for the Republican side. Fonzie and Richie and everyone, they were going for the Democrat. I think I forget exactly. But the point is, they were going opposite sides, and Howard was like, "How can you do that, Richie? How can you not go with this side? We always go this side." Anyway, so then there was a moment where Richie's giving a speech, and there's some guy next to Howard Cunningham saying, "Boo! Kid, you don't know what you're talking about." And then Howard Cunningham said, "Hey, listen to him, would you?" Really nice. Howard Cunningham was a stand-up guy and an awesome dad. He really was. That's all I guess. I love Howard Cunningham. Fantastic. He's a testament to TV dads. He's one of the TV dads.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd say he's on the Mount Rushmore, right up there with Richie.
He is. He has to be on that. If he's not on the Mount Rushmore, we got to write a letter, Tiki.
Dear makers of the metaphorical TV dad Mount Rushmore,
we're very upset with the fact you don't have a beloved TV icon, 50/70s icon, Howard Cunningham, on that mountain. He's a treasure and he should be acknowledged. Thank you. Sincerely love, Tiki and BlueDragonFive. Take care. Happy Father's Day.
All right, and with that, we hope you guys enjoyed our list. I certainly enjoyed putting it together. Had some fun times. I recalled some fun fatherly memories. And in the meantime, stay tuned for another ListMania where we round up and drink again.